from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:04. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. It is Wednesday, October 17th. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
So, Pete has announced that he's officially given in to the chilly weather. He's wearing long sleeves. I know I got 3/4 sleeves on today. It's cold out there. It's
like 35 degrees out right now.
Yeah.
It's only going to get up into the mid-50s today.
Correct.
Maybe we might hit 60.
Yeah, they were saying mid-50s, a little showery this afternoon. Maybe
Stray
some
shower.
Yeah, maybe some wind gusts. So it's just kind of it's a little chilly out there this morning.
Yeah, we're getting a reinforcing blast of cold air this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. So it was 37 when I came in this morning. 37 in the parking lot here at Westfield State University. We are broadcasting live. And is it homecoming weekend this coming weekend? Is that what's going on?
I believe so.
Our regular parking lot is closed. So
usually for homecoming weekend they set up some stuff over there, like a obstacle course or something.
Yes. So yes,
like almost like the Tough Mudder, whatever it's called.
Yep. So of course the day I was running a few minutes behind anyway.
Me too.
Pull in and I went, no, my parking lot is closed. So
University Hall we go.
Dr. Lovelace, if you're listening, I just sent you a text message. Park in our summer parking lot where we parked this summer and I'm going to have to text my second hour guest and let her know as well. So yeah, we have a full slate this morning. We have Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, our resident primary care physician, joining us in a few minutes. And then second hour, we have Kathy Tobin from the Bay State Health Foundation.
There you go.
We will be talking about the upcoming Noble Ball. But I also will have Kathy talk a little bit about it. This weekend is the Rays of Hope Walk. Of course, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff happening in Westfield. Pete and I saw each other at Run Stanley on Sunday. So thank you for that and for providing the music for that. That was a great event. We had nice weather, although I know you were a little chilly. But
apparently I'm like the eye of the hurricane of that event, according to the Vanessa Diana.
Oh, okay. There you go.
She says you're like the eye of the hurricane. I'm running around like a nut, and you're just real calm, just sitting there.
Yep.
I said it's probably because I'm frozen.
Yeah, right. Pete was a little chilly because they always put him in the shade.
Yeah, I don't understand why they put me under the tree.
Next year in the sun.
Yes.
I got to get you out in the sun. Yeah. But it was a beautiful day.
It was a beautiful day.
Gorgeous day for a run.
You guys had the perfect running weather.
We
really
did. We had perfect running weather. Dressed appropriately. I wasn't too hot. I wasn't too cold. And
the times were up because it was like a mud bog down in the sanctuary.
Well, they rerouted us. They did a little bit of a change on the trail run, but it was wonderful. I mean, I think the only thing, there was part of it where we were running in two directions. So we were running out, the folks with the dogs were running back, but those were the fastest of the people with the dogs, because beyond that, it was a great run. I have to ask Vanessa, though. I can't find where they posted the times anywhere.
They
the
were
official
having
times.
issues with that. I know they were having problems because the canine runners got mixed in with the regular runners, so there was a little bit of. So I think she posted on the Facebook page, but you don't have Facebook.
Yes, but I went on this, but I can get on the Run Stanley Facebook page, which I did, and I didn't see it on there.
She said she had posted it up there, but you have to contact her.
I will do that. And
I think she is on with Patrick Berry tomorrow.
She is on with Patrick
as part of the Westfield 350.
She is. So are we going to make this announcement? Patrick's guests tomorrow on Patrick Berry's Westfield News Radio show will be Candy Pennington and Vanessa Diana. They will be talking about the Westfield 350 speaker series, which I have this handy dandy because I ran into Harry Rock right after this. The print. I need
a copy of that because I want to cover as many of those as I can.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So sounds good. I will get you that copy. Anyway, they will be on tomorrow with Patrick Berry. So we have to do, before Dr. Akinyele Lovelace comes in this morning, we have to do a few famous birthdays so that people know why we're playing the songs that we're playing. So first of all, it is the birthday today of actor George Wendt. He was born October 17th, 1948 in Chicago. He's 70 years old today. He started out his career in Chicago as part of the famed Second City comedy troupe in the 1970s, but we know him because in 1982, he took on his most famous role of Norm Peterson on the hit sitcom Cheers, and he stayed with the series until its end in 1993. So I can't believe George Wendt is 70 years old.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel a little older myself. It is also the birthday of the late Evel Knievel, actor, athlete, crazy nut. Wait until you hear how he started.
I saw a biography of his life. He's a nut.
He is crazy. Well, I mean, he's gone now, but he was born October 17th, 1938 in Montana. He passed away November 30th, 2007 at the age of 69. But Evel Knievel, whose real name was Robert Craig Knievel Jr., was an American daredevil who attempted more than 75 ramp-to-ramp motorcycle jumps. But here's how it started. Pete knows this if he saw his biography, but I found this fascinating. In 1966, Evel Knievel was working in a motorcycle shop in Moses Lake, Washington. To help drum up business, he announced that he would jump a motorcycle 40 feet over parked cars and a box of rattlesnakes, then continue on past a caged cougar. So in front of 1,000 people, he made the jump, but fell short, landing on the rattlesnakes. The crowd went wild, and a new career was born for Robert Craig Knievel. Two of the more famous jumps include flying over the fountain at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas.
That was successful.
And jumping over buses at London's Wembley Stadium. That, I believe, was also successful.
I think he ended up, though, on that one, I think he ended up sliding on the end, and he broke his leg.
Well, I'm sure
he completed the jump.
I'm sure he had many broken bones.
He broke every bone in his body, I think.
So happy birthday to the late Evel Knievel.
The one unsuccessful one was the Snake River Canyon, the one that he was in the rocket, the water-powered rocket that didn't.
Correct. That did not.
That
make
almost
it.
killed him.
I left that one out because
that almost killed him.
That was not successful.
Yes.
All right. It is also the birthday. October 17th is also the birthday of famous playwright and screenwriter, the late Arthur Miller. He was born October 17th, 1915 in New York City and died in 2005 at the age of 89. Arthur Miller wrote the first act of Death of a Salesman in less than a day in 1949. The drama follows the travails of Willie Loman, an aging Brooklyn salesman whose career is in decline and who finds the values that he so doggedly pursued have become his undoing. Death of a Salesman won Arthur Miller the highest accolades in the theater world. He got the Pulitzer Prize for that, the New York Drama Critics Circle Award, and the Tony for Best Play. The work, in fact, swept all 6 of the Tony categories in which it was nominated, including for Best Direction and Best Author. Not bad for one play.
Yeah, right.
In 1956, Arthur Miller divorced his first wife, Mary Slattery, his former college sweetheart with whom he had 2 children, And less than a month later, he married actress and Hollywood sex symbol Marilyn Monroe. Later in 1956, the House Un-American Activities Committee, and there really was such a thing because I looked it up, refused to renew Arthur Miller's passport and called him to appear before the committee. His 1953 play, the Tony Award-winning The Crucible, a dramatization of the Salem witch trials of 1692 and an allegory about McCarthyism, was believed to be one of the reasons why Arthur Miller came under the committee's scrutiny. He refused to comply with the committee's demands to out people who had been active in certain political activities and was thus cited in contempt of Congress. That, however, was reversed 2 years later.
Sure.
But happy birthday to the late Arthur Miller. And finally, it is the birthday today of Alan Jackson, country singer, born October 17th, 1958 in Noonan, Georgia. He is 60 years old today. And congratulations, Alan Jackson. You can join the Westfield Senior Center. You are 60 years old and officially a senior in Massachusetts. Throughout the course of his career, Alan Jackson has been honored with over 45 awards from organizations like the Academy of Country Music and the Country Music Association. He released his greatest hits album in 1995 and won 8 major awards, including the CMA Entertainer of the Year. Jackson's song, Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning, a song commemorating those lost in the September 11th terror attacks, earned him his first Grammy Award for Best Country Song. He received 4 CMA awards that year, tying with Johnny Cash for the most CMA wins in a year. So we're going to listen to that song later. I had never heard that, but it's really, so hopefully you can pull that up later, Pete. But
yeah,
it's really a really, really moving song. So that's it for that. We'll save the national days for later. And let's see, what else do I want to announce before we get to the first break? Well, actually, you know what? We'll do the national days. That way we get all this out of the way, and then we'll do announcements later.
Okay.
So today is National Support Your Local Chamber of Commerce Day. Would it happen? I was going to say, would it happen to be? Is it Kate's Day?
No,
or no,
she's
not
the
Kate's
second.
Day. Okay, I get confused on.
She used to be
when
the third.
Kate is on. Okay. Well, anyways, National Support Your Local Chamber of Commerce Day. When business is good, the economy thrives, and everybody benefits. That's why the third Wednesday in October is a special day to recognize local chambers of commerce and the vital role that they play in the community. National Support Your Local Chamber of Commerce Day pays tribute to the organization whose main objective is to encourage local businesses to succeed and help them to develop. Chambers provide educational programs and committees as resources for its members. Chambers also promote businesses to tourists at visitor centers. And I have to say, our local Chamber of Commerce, I think, is just superb. I'm on their mailing list, so I'm constantly getting emails about things that they're doing.
From Kate, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Kudos to Kate Phelan and the group there. Today is also National Mulligan Day. So I had to look up what the heck that means, because I know what a mulligan is. If anybody who plays golf knows what a mulligan is.
Taking a mulligan.
Yeah, so I couldn't really figure this out. So National Mulligan Day is observed annually on October 17th. In golf, a mulligan happens when a player gets a second chance to perform a certain move or action. According to the USGA, the United States Golf Association, the term first achieved widespread use in the 1940s. Mulligan Day was created as a day for giving yourself a second chance, or as some people call it, a do-over. So here's how you can observe National Mulligan Day. We can all think of something that at one point in time we have said, I wish I could do that over. To celebrate National Mulligan Day, take your do-over. The history is that C. Daniel Rhodes of Hoover, Alabama, he came up with National Mulligan Day as a way to give everyone a day to have a fresh start. So I thought that was kind of cool. I sort of like that concept of, give yourself a little break here and do it over, do better, do it over. All right, it is 6:16. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. Hopefully, within the next few minutes, our resident primary care physician, Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, will be here. But just to let listeners know, our regular parking lot is blocked off, and Pete, and I think it has something to do with homecoming weekend.
Yeah, they usually set up something over there for that.
Pete and I was also running a little late because, you go to pull down and all of a sudden you have the barricades and it's like, whoops, I got to find another place to park. And so it takes a few extra minutes. But hopefully the song will bring Dr. Lovelace in.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
He rules the roost on Thursday from 6 till 10. It's Patrick Berry.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:22. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. It is Wednesday, October 17th. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning. He's given up too. He's wearing flannel.
And our very special guest, our resident primary care physician. Yes, looking like the lumberjack this morning. You don't look like a PCP. You look like a lumberjack. Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, welcome.
Welcome. It
You're embracing
the plaid
I was getting ready
shirt.
for fall. It was great.
You do. You look very fallish. We have on the shirt. We've got on the yellow. Is that a sweater or a vest?
It is a sweater.
It's a sweater. It's very, very
thank you.
nice
Very
looking.
bright.
Yeah, it's very
That's the
bright.
last vestige of summer, but he's covering it up by fall.
I do.
Exactly.
I do.
But then he's got this really great plaid shirt jacket thing. It's awesome. Was that a gift from somebody? That's really nice. Or did you pick that out yourself?
I did pick it out myself.
I'm very
proud
impressed.
of myself.
Gary Gorman, are you listening to that?
Yes.
He picked that out himself.
However, I have
Very
to get it confirmed.
nice.
I always have to get it confirmed by the wife.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you
very, very handsome this
Otherwise,
morning.
That's more rigorous than a Senate confirmation.
It really is. It really is. But it's a lot faster because she gives me an up or down vote pretty
exactly.
quick.
You
It's
get the big thumbs up or thumbs down.
No,
or something.
it'll usually be like, oh, you look like a car salesman today. And I'll be like, oh, no, that's not what I'm intending to do.
Wow.
So
You look like a car salesman.
I go back and change my attire for the
I
day.
have to.
I can see her saying that, though.
I have to use. I can see Christina Lovelace saying just about anything.
And no
She's a
offense to
woman
car
who
salesmen
speaks
out
her
there.
mind.
Yeah, no
Oh
offense to
my
the car
God.
salesman, but
exactly.
she gets on me about that.
So we need to talk about the lovely ladies in your life, Akinyele, because I
fantastic.
don't know if I've seen you since they all helped out at our fundraiser, our friends fundraiser last month, the Sarah the Fiddler concert.
Yeah.
So we had Christina and the girls helping us out, and it was absolutely hysterical. The girls are, I just love them. Love them. So I have Christina at the front door, explaining to people that they need to go scan their My Senior Center card in. So she's kind of funneling them over there. And I'm the next stop because then I had somebody at the kiosk helping people. So I'm kind of in between. So Christina's passing them to me and I'm sending. And I had, what's the youngest one? What's her name?
Gianna.
So I had Gianna next to me and she had some kind of a wandy thing. So I said, Gianna, and she was all dressed up. I said, so your job is to wave your wand so that people know, follow my wand and head over in that direction. So she started doing that and taking the job very seriously, I might add. So when Christina was explaining to people, you just need to follow, go to Tina and follow over there, Gianna was giving her Mom, that is my job. I will direct people when they get over here to where they go. So she was very serious about that. And then we had, we had a variety of, we did a silent auction. So we had prizes. And one of my board members from my friends group used to, he was in the book distribution industry, so for schools. So he had donated to the raffle some really wonderful children's books, and we had them bundled sort of according to age. So the girls, I guess Christine had gotten some raffle tickets, and the girls, put some they wanted, and Gianna won.
Oh yeah.
So she was up helping deliver the raffle prizes. She was one of my runners because I figured they're the two youngest.
Yeah,
and then I had
good.
some high school students, some of the Key Club students, or the Kiwanis, for Kiwanis. But anyway, so she was running the prizes and won one of the bundles of books. It was like somebody won the $1 million in the lottery. She's jumping and twirling and spinning and flying down to see Christina so that she could take the prize down. It was just so entertaining.
That's awesome.
They
I was
were
wondering where those
wonderful.
books came from.
Oh, they were. She was. Now you know. But they were just terrific and
That's
just
awesome.
so much help. And we appreciated it. But we all had a
Good.
great time.
Oh, that's good to hear.
I think the girls did too. I think
they did.
enjoyed the concert.
Sound like they had a blast.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not love Sarah the Fiddler? She's really wonderful. So
That was good stuff.
So,
Awesome.
So now everybody's getting ready for Halloween.
Oh yeah.
How?
It's gonna
I
be a
mean,
good
that's
time.
like good times. That's
Good
a
times.
big. That's a big deal when you've got little kids.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
like the second. As a matter of fact, I talked to a friend of mine. I said that's like the second biggest holiday of the year for kids. She said, in my house, it's probably number one, even before Christmas. She said, Halloween, big deal.
It's a big deal. I mean, we watched. Well, I didn't watch. I was working, but the kids were watching the Addams Family.
Yes.
Well, Addams Family Values, so not the
Oh.
original. So
Okay.
we were kind of tossing around the idea of maybe we all just kind of dressing up as the Addams
Oh,
Family.
the Addams
That'd be funny.
Family.
That's
That
what we were
would
trying
be
to do,
great.
But it's kind of determining who's going to be
Yeah,
Wednesday.
Morticia,
and-
Wednesday,
Yeah.
Cousin It,
So
Uncle
that's
Fester.
that's what we're tossing around.
That's
so
a
hopefully
good
we'll figure
one.
it out together.
Lots of
hopefully.
Well, we are having a Halloween party at the senior center. So here's my shameless plug,
for
because
it.
the tickets went on sale yesterday. So usually like every 3 or 4 years, the staff talks me into we need to do a Halloween party, and of course, when we do a Halloween party, we all have to get dressed up.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago was when we all dressed up as the nuns, and that was
revived.
that was revived when we did the lip sync battle. So this year we have a different theme, which will go. I will not announce that. It's a surprise theme.
No, it's got to be a surprise.
But this year, it's really kind of fun now because we have Julie Barnes as the director of.
so she's joining in the fun?
Of Veterans Affairs. Yeah, Julie's actually going to be on my show within the next couple of weeks, I think. Yes, but Julie is joining in the fun, and that means that James can join in the fun because Julie and James are our two veterans folks. So we pulled them right in to our Halloween fun. So they're going to participate and dress up with us.
Can you see the locked door? Huddle.
It is. It's going to be absolutely hysterical. I will tell you that the star of the show is going to be my activities aide, Agnes Fleming, who was in my office yesterday afternoon after starting to put together her costume. So now we're all putting together our costumes.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good time. But for those of you who would like to get tickets, get your tickets because I anticipate that we're going to sell out rather quickly on this Halloween party. Our entertainment for the party is Center Stage, which is one of our favorite duos, Laura Pixley and Irv, and they just do a phenomenal job. So we're going to have a lot of fun. That's going to be on Halloween Day, which is on a Wednesday, 2 weeks from today, which is hard to believe. So anyway, okay. So we're going to take a break before we get into our topic with Dr. Lovelace, but we will introduce. So what's the topic for the day?
Polypharmacy.
Yeah, we're going to talk about polypharmacy. So for those of you who have never heard that term, poly meaning many, pharmacy medications. We're going to talk about many medications and what some things to be careful about, some things to talk to your doctor about. So we will be back. It is 6:29. You're listening to WSKB. Oh my God, what's my first song here? It is, I love this song. I chose this one because I thought Akinyele would like it. Today's the birthday of Evel Knievel, so the song is Steppenwolf's Born to be Wild.
Oh yeah.
Get your motor running, head out on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way. Yeah, darling, go make it happen. Take the world in a loving embrace. Fire all of the guns at once and explode into space. I like smoking lightning, heavy metal thunder, racing with the wind, and the feeling that I'm under. Yeah, darling, go make it happen. Take the world in a loving embrace. Fire all of the guns at once and explode into space. Like a true nature's child, we were born to be wild. We can climb so high, I never wanna die.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Wednesday mornings from 6 till 8, it's Tina Gorman with Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:34. I'm feeling a little wild this morning after that Steppenwolf number.
Look out.
That one was for Evil Knievel. Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so my name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm in studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
All dressed in his purple.
Yeah.
And we have Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, our WSKB resident primary care physician, who's been with us for a long time now. You are
Don't say such things.
You are steady.
Couple of years.
I feel like it's been a while.
few years. No, I mean, it's really great because I was just explaining to somebody about how you ended up, on the show, and you were Bay State put you in here, and you had this radio voice.
Back when Bay State had like a marketing team, and
exactly.
And I just never left. I just kept coming back.
And he just kind of. I said, you are a radio kind of guy. So, Dr. Lovelace. So the topic this morning. This is actually one of my favorite topics because I just think it's one of those things that we need to periodically talk about because people forget about it, and that's the whole issue of polypharmacy, and it's really all about people taking multiple medications, both prescription medications as well as over-the-counter medications, as well as supplements and vitamins and all of those good things. So I'm going to toss it over to you. Where would you like to start? This is an extensive topic. So where would you like to start?
So I think this is an important topic. A lot of times for a lot of our older adults who, unfortunately, this is the time of year where a lot of people might have to be put in the hospital or have been seen in the hospital, or you've seen multiple subspecialists. This is also the time of the year where a lot of people are still just catching up with their doctors, either before they go south or just before they get ready for the winter that's coming ahead. And so this is always a time where I have to encourage everyone to bring every single prescription bottle you have to your doctor.
Primary care
doctor. Yes, thank you for highlighting that for me.
The quarterback.
Yes.
The primary care physician.
And there's a reason. What they found specifically with the Medicare population is that a lot of times, a lot of medications get overlooked, or patients have been on medications after they've been discharged or released from the hospital that they need not be on.
Right.
The problem is that some of those medications that they sometimes get discharged with are medications that could increase risk for bad things happening.
Okay.
Like what? Frequent falls. What else? Stomach issues. Mm-hmm. What are our main culprits? A lot of times we get discharged from the hospital from medications that usually are used for what we would call prophylactic reasons. Biggest culprit. A lot of patients get discharged on things like Nexium or omeprazole or Prilosec, and they need not be on it, but they were on it in the hospital, let's say to prevent them from having a ulcer while they're in the hospital. Okay. But then they do not follow up with their regular doctor to talk about it, and they're on it indefinitely.
Like they're supposed to.
Correct. And then what happens is it increases their risk for a bone fracture. But they would have not have known that if they not talked to their doctor about it. Or they develop this weird kind of diarrhea from it because they've been on it for an indefinite amount of time. Okay. What is my point? My point here is that it is extremely important to really, really take a good look at all of your medications with your primary care doctor, and not just rely on the fact that they have your medication list in the record or in the chart, because the biggest problem is that a lot of times when you've seen by multiple subspecialists, which a lot of our seniors are doing, there's not always that real-time communication. Like there's not like a ticker that everyone is just looking at to kind of seeing what's going on with your medication list. And so sometimes there is a delay with communication between doctor to doctor. And so I think it's extremely important that at some point throughout the course of the year that you would at least bring, or someone within that office should encourage you to bring all of those medications in to review.
At least for like yearly physical, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Annual physicals, or what are called annual wellness visits, are also key times where you can do that as well. Or if you're establishing care with a new provider, those would be the ideal times to bring in those medications, because there's some real...
Which I'm doing soon.
Oh, yes. and so, but I think that the biggest issue is that it's some of the common medications that we don't think about that could pose the biggest risk.
Okay.
For example, like I just mentioned, the heartburn medication. If you're on that for an indefinite period of time.
So that's what Prilosec and so the ones that you said. Not that we're dissing, the medication itself.
No.
but
Because for me, I have to take it every day, because if I don't take it, I get acid reflux.
But they're common. They're sometimes common medications that we don't think about, and so it's good to just reconcile those, or excuse me, to look at those, because let's say, for example, that you're taking that medication and you're also on a medication called Plavix or clopidogrel, right? There are side effects. They do interact with each other, and you can kind of run into problems, especially if you're on this medication and not knowing or not being told when you've been discharged from the hospital that you need not be on both of these. Other prime examples are going to be medications like anti-inflammatories. If someone has been on an anti-inflammatory for a prolonged period of time, or you got discharged on an anti-inflammatory, and you also have a kidney issue that you may not be aware of, that could potentially impair your kidney function. So having a look at these medications are extremely important moving forward. I mean, I could talk about a lot of these medicines.
I know. You are really on a roll. Not even taking a breath.
Because it's so important.
Because it can be.
It's so important, and I can't list,
Even just taking ibuprofen for an extended period of time is going to cause you a stomach problem.
Correct. And so the problem is that it's also having that relationship with your primary care doctor, because our kidney function does slow down as we get older. And so a lot of these medications, as common as they may be, we still just need to make sure that you're taking them at the appropriate dose. That's the other issue. What you could have been taking in your early 40s and 50s may not be the same dose that you need in your 60s and 70s. And so that's the other thing that should be kind of discussed as we bring all of our medications to our primary care doctor. Other issues are always going to be medicines that include the biggest culprit that I'm running into now are the omega-3 fatty acids. So all of those.
Let's talk about what are those.
So
what does that mean?
So the ones
naturally
typically
occurring in like salmon and things like that.
Yeah, but it's going to be the actual pill, right?
Oh, the
so
pill.
People are taking like the omega reds or any one of the pills that have. I'm taking fish oil now. I'm taking fish oil.
So those would all be things that are over the counter.
Those are over the counter.
Supplements that not necessarily prescribed by a physician.
Correct. Okay. There are some variations that are, but a lot of people are just taking them. And a lot of times I ask, well, why are you taking them? And they go, well, it sounds like a great idea.
Because I saw it on a commercial.
I saw it on a commercial, or I'm taking it for my cholesterol. And so you're like, well, what is the dose that you're taking? And they're not sure. And so that's something else that when it comes to education, you have to really discuss with some people. And then the other problem, though, when we're talking about side effects from polypharmacy, is that this medication or that supplement does increase your risk for bleeding, by the way, right? So you're wondering why you've been bleeding a whole lot or bruising a whole lot, and it could be because you're taking your fish oil tablet in addition to all the other things that can do it. So what is my point? My point is that it's really, really important to share not only just the medications and the over-the-counter medications that you take, but the supplements that you take, because there is a direct relationship, and we're starting to find that there are some key interactions that occur. For example, let's just say that someone's going to have a surgery done, right? Let's say you're going to have a knee done or you're going to have a hip done, and you don't reveal to your doctor that you've been taking fish oil. All of a sudden they get it to the surgery and they notice that you're bleeding a little bit more than usual. It was just because we didn't take into account that you had been taking fish oil. Now, it's a rare occurrence, but it's one of those examples where these are the things that we need to make sure are documented or at least written down.
Well, if you get to a surgery, right, couldn't a surgeon think it's something else and treat you for that, and you're not treating you for the right thing? Like you have a deficiency where you don't clot or something.
Correct. And so it just complicates or prolongs your hospital course. And then you're in the hospital then for a prolonged course, and they put you on a variety of different other medicines. Well, maybe you can't sleep while you're in the hospital, right? So then they discharge you on sleeping aid medications, and then your primary care doctor doesn't know about it. And then you've been taking these sleeping aids. And the problem with taking sleeping aids as we get older is that they're what we call hypnotics, right? They do kind of hypnotize you. And it's not good to be hypnotized in the middle of the night if you're someone who has to get up and maybe use the bathroom once or twice. And then it increases your risk for falls. So once again, a lot of these sedative medications that some of our patients are getting discharged with when they leave the hospital also can become become a problem. And then the problem with that is that once you're taking these medicines and your primary care doctor doesn't know about it, that becomes a problem, because what if they give you something else to take?
Sure.
What if we give you an antihistamine? Antihistamines are also a big issue for a lot of our older adults. If you're taking an antihistamine, that can also cause confusion.
Right.
So you add an antihistamine to a sedative medication after you just got discharged from the hospital, and now all of a sudden we have someone that's falling at home and they are back in the hospital again. So you could see how the dilemma can come very quickly with just some very simple, common things that we can really purchase over the counter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you just brought up about 500 topics. Every time he brings something else up, I'm like, okay, we're gonna go on this topic, and we're gonna stop it. So before we take our first, our next break, let's just talk about the dosage issue, because you rattled off a lot of stuff, and let's just talk about why it's important for older adults to be not necessarily on the same dosage as somebody who's in their, say, 20s or 30s.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so why don't we start there with just the fact that their bodies are different, they process medications differently.
Correct. So as we get more refined,
as we mature,
we do metabolize medications differently. Like the actual way in which we break them down slows down. So the activity in which the medication stays in your system can be there longer.
Okay.
So it's extremely important to understand that. So a lot of times I'll have older adults tell me this, say, "Hey doc, I've been on X, Y, and Z since since I was 35." And I'm going to say, well, yes, but keep in mind that liver that was in its 20s has also aged. So it's not going to perform as good as it used to. The other issue is a lot of times as we get older, we also are taking more than just one or two medicines now.
Right.
And so there are other medicines that compete in our body for the same type of mechanism that breaks them down. For an example, there are certain types of medicines that interact together.
Right.
Or not even medicines. Let's just take orange juice, for example. Right?
Foods.
So certain foods. So some people will drink orange juice and take a medicine, right? The problem with that is that orange juice could potentially slow down how we actually absorb that medication,
right,
or speed up how fast it lasts in our system. And so those are some key issues. The other thing that I always want to remind older adults is that certain medications affect our kidneys, and our kidneys are our kidneys and our liver are the two main places in which we break down medicines or excrete them. Once our kidney function starts to decline, we do have to adjust the medicines. What are some prime examples? Certain blood thinning medications. A lot of the newer blood thinning medications that older adults take now, they usually have to be adjusted based on our kidney function.
Okay.
Diabetic medications, certain diabetic medications, specifically metformin, those need to be dosed accordingly based on our kidney function. Believe it or not, certain antibiotics actually need to be dosed based on how our kidney function is doing. So there are a lot of medications that are out there that need to be adjusted based on our kidney function as we age. And that's usually the primary factor involved in all of this. So it's important for your primary care doctor to just kind of routinely make sure that your blood work is being checked or looked at so that they can understand how to dose these medications accordingly.
And I would suggest we're gonna take a break, but because I want to say this about 4 times while we're between now and the time that Dr. Lovelace leaves. So when you go to visit your primary care physician, you brown bag it. You take a brown bag, you put all your prescription medications that you've been prescribed, put all your vitamins and supplements, put all your over-the-counter stuff that you're taking, just throw it in the brown bag. And that way, it's nice to bring them a list. I just say, just bring the stuff with you and say, this is what I'm taking. This is all the stuff I'm taking. So when it comes to some of those over-the-counter medications and your doc pulls out, your thing of Tums, you can let your doctor know, I take one every single night before I go to bed, or I take one, maybe once every couple of weeks, if I feel like I need it. But it's important for the doctor to know, just not just what you're taking, but how are you taking it, when are you taking it,
Correct.
And so forth. So, all right, we're going to take a break. It is 6:47. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses, and in honor of the birthday of George Wendt, we're going to play the theme song from Cheers.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? All those nights when you've got no lights, the check is in the mail, and your little angel hung the cat up by its tail, and your third fiancé didn't show. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Roll out of bed, Mr. Coffee's dead. The morning's looking bright. And your shrink ran off to Europe and didn't even write. And your husband wants to be a girl. Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
Of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:51. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. It is Wednesday, October 17th. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm in studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
And our WSKB resident primary care physician, Dr. Akinyele Lovelace. Good morning again, Dr. Lovelace.
Good morning.
So the very impassioned Dr. Lovelace talking about the topic of polypharmacy, which is many medications, and that includes not just your prescription medications, also your over-the-counter medications, and your vitamins and your supplements. And, you know, we talked a little bit about drug-drug interactions, but you also mentioned drug-food interactions. You know, some medications you should be taking with a meal, before a meal, after a meal, on an empty stomach, on a full stomach. All of those things count. But we were talking off air, Dr. Lovelace, about probably the time when things get the most confusing and the most sort of could be the most dangerous is shortly after someone's been discharged from the hospital.
Yeah.
So why don't we kind of why don't we hone in on that?
Yeah, let's do that. What we've noticed is that a lot of patients, typically when they're discharged from the hospital, usually have been discharged at least on 2 to 4 medications that they probably don't need to be on.
Okay.
And the problem is they're then continued on those medicines and bad things can happen.
Sure.
That's the short of it. So what has been proposed, or what we're doing in an outpatient setting, is we're trying to do what's called transitional care visits. right? And so what we're trying to do is really improve what we call a handoff, right? So from one treating doctor from in the hospital, handing off that information to the doctor in the outpatient setting, right? And the purpose of that is for everyone to kind of be on the same page when we're dealing with medicines, and that's the most important part. And so that's why there's such a big push for the primary care doctors to try to get these patients in within 7 days from being discharged, and definitely within 30 days of being discharged.
Oh, yes.
And the purpose of that is to prevent rehospitalization. And what typically happens is that it's a lot. You've been hospitalized for whatever reason. You know, it's a pneumonia or heart failure, and so a lot of common things, maybe a urinary tract infection.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is that the patient is then discharged, and they get this huge laundry list of things that they were on when they were in the hospital, or as needed medications that they got. And it's a very long packet. And the problem a lot of times is understanding what medicines I'm supposed to be on currently and what medications I'm not supposed to be on. And so making sure that you talk to your primary care doctor within that short period of time has shown to be a benefit. And why has it been a benefit? It's been a benefit because your primary care doctor knows you better, usually.
Yes.
And they're able to kind of go through these medications and be like, hey, listen, you don't need to take this anymore. Don't take this because this will do A. You know, this will increase your risk for bleeding, or this will just make you constipated. Please don't take this anymore. Or, hey, you're finished taking that antibiotic. You can resume this medication now. And so having that conversation is extremely important, because we've realized once you've gone through that process with your doctor, you actually decrease your risk from being readmitted back to the hospital for either the same thing or something that kind of came about from being on one of these medications that you didn't need to be on.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I noticed, because I used to do a lot of geriatric social work in skilled nursing facilities. So we would get, folks after they had been hospitalized. And my own personal experience, in addition to the whatever the person was hospitalized for, say pneumonia or stroke or heart or whatever. So there were those medications. But as you mentioned before, so now you've got somebody who's in the hospital. Well, I'm not sleeping well, doctor, because, my roommate snores, or, I'm in an unfamiliar place, or I can't get comfortable in the bed. So you end up on a sleeping medication, or they put me on this new medication and now I've either got diarrhea or I'm constipated, because those are common side effects. So now you're put on some other, something to counterbalance that. And, you end up with, I find that some of those medications that people are now discharged home with were medications that were given to them in the hospital, usually because of either side effects of other medications that they're no longer taking, or you just get into that cycle of, well, we gave you this because of that, and they end up on all of this extra stuff.
Yes, because for a lot of older adults, when you're put into a hospital, I equate it to being in the casino. Number one, you're always losing money, and number two, you're like disoriented because there's
overstimulation.
You're over either A, there's too many chirping or bings, or you have no idea what time of day it is, right? Like it's just very, very disorienting. And so my point is that we have to just once again reorient ourselves as to what's going on. And for a lot of older adults, when they're put in a hospital, you're taken out of your routine. I know personally, if I don't do the same thing that I do every morning, I get a little cranky, right? So have to imagine for someone who's a little bit older, whose memory might not be there as once as it could have been, they're missing on those cues, and so they can become somewhat agitated or just not comfortable in their position, and so that shows in a hospital setting. And so these patients sometimes are given medications to kind of at least either calm them down or help them go to sleep, but once they're discharged, they don't need those medicines. And I think that's the biggest issue that we're running into. And so the other issue is that these patients then get diagnosed with a variety of different diagnoses that may not really apply to them. No, you did not have an anxiety disorder, you just didn't want to be in the hospital at that time, and we understand that. And so those are the things, when you have an established relationship with your primary care doctor, you can kind of sort those little things out to kind of either A, reassure the patient that they're okay and they don't need it, or B, be like, well, maybe we need to make space for this, and that needs to happen.
I think the other thing that I see that's really dangerous, particularly with older adults, but quite honestly, even with younger, is when people are put on medications on an as-needed basis. Ooh. Because then it's up to the patient to determine, do I need to take this now or not? And I've seen that even with younger people. It's like, well, I'm not really sure if I'm supposed to or not, so okay, I will, when maybe they shouldn't. or I won't, and they wait too long. I don't know what the answer is to that, because I'm sure that there are some medications that really do need to be
And
ordered.
that's big for something
PRN
like the gout.
or as
So
it's just tough for
So-
people to make that call on their own.
Yeah, so what's happening with the as-needed medication, specifically when someone is discharged from the hospital for, let's say, a procedure. Let's just say you broke your ankle,
Yeah.
right? And you're given
Okay.
as-needed pain medication.
Yeah.
That's usually the biggest culprit. What we've started to see now, and what's actually happened, is that they're pushing out laws or recommendations that you can only be discharged for a certain day of these as needed medications now, specifically if there's any type of opioid in it or any other type of really strong pain medication. And so the rules have kind of changed. So a lot of patients will not get more than a 5-day or even a 7-day course. And then after that, it just stops, which then forces the patient to then follow up with their primary care doctor to discuss whether or not they still need to be on that medication or can they be on something else. I think when it's talking about as needed medications, we still need to just have a plan. Like there needs to be something to kind of reinforce what we're actually taking it for and then reconciling that. So having the conversation with your doctor about, hey, wait, I'm supposed to take this medication for what particular purpose? And that needs to be very clear. And so what a lot of offices are doing is they're giving patient summaries now. They're giving out information about those medications and when you're actually supposed to take them so that there's no confusion. Otherwise, you're going to start having patients who don't know why they're taking what they're taking. Pete said something really important about gout. Gout is one of those instances where you'll have a real bad flare of a joint of whatever reason. And so you'll take a particular type of medication for just a short period of time.
Right.
And then that should be it, unless you have other issues. But the point
it's always in your medicine cabinet.
But it should be readily available, but it needs to be written down explicitly as to what it's for. And if you're starting to forget that, then maybe we should talk about taking it away or talking about having a very limited supply. And so what prescribers are starting to do is give a very smaller supply of what you should be given.
Right, and that's what I
asked
for.
Which is the appropriate thing to do.
Which makes sense, because that way, if you're given a very small supply, when the supply is used up, which is going to be in a relatively short period of time, it forces you to contact the doctor to say, okay,
and plus,
we need to have the conversation.
If you don't have it all the time, like once every couple of years, it expires.
Well, it expires anyway.
Correct, and that's my other issue. My other issue is using expired medications. Stop holding on to these medications in your house. That includes antibiotics. Please, if you finish it, finish it. If you don't, well, I wish you would, but get rid of it. It does not need to sit in your house. No, you do not need any other medication just in case. No, that is not necessary either, because you don't need just in case medications. I'm not a fan of that either. So go through that medicine cabinet just as much and really reconcile it. If it's expired, please get rid of it. Like, you don't need it in your medicine cabinet, because the only thing that does is increase the risk for someone else to take it. And then you have problems where someone went into your cabinet and maybe took an antibiotic they shouldn't have taken, or they took that pain medication you've been holding on to that's expired and they had a really bad reaction.
Well,
so that's something else, that you have to kind of think about as well in the cabinet.
Okay.
Never use somebody else's prescriptions.
All right. We've just opened up like 87 topics.
I got a really good pain med, please.
But I want to follow up.
But that's important to polypharmacy, though. Like, you're holding on to those medicines.
Yes. So we are going to do part 2 polypharmacy next month, because we just did I feel like we did like this. We raced through this. We brought up a zillion different topics, but some of these are very pertinent to older adults. The sharing of medications because of financial issues.
Yes.
We need to talk about that. We need to talk about expired medications. We need to talk about all of that.
I agree.
Dr. Lovelace will be back next.
Yeah.
Yes, he will be back next month. We will talk about. I'm going to have to write down all the different topics of things that we just kind of touched on that I feel like we need to get into a little bit more depth, and just everybody has to take a breath here. But you know what? I understand why Dr. Lovelace is so. I feel like it is an impassioned kind of a topic for you, because it can cause havoc. I mean, and it can cause diagnoses that really don't exist, but it's based on side effects of medications and multiple medications and medication interactions, and suddenly someone is diagnosed with dementia, and they may or may not even have dementia, but because of all these medications. The other thing that I want to talk about in the future, and maybe next month, is just because you're put on a medication like a heart medication or even a diabetic medication does not mean that you need to be on it for the rest of your life. If you make some lifestyle changes, that's a possibility. So those are some goals that people can can shoot for.
I
It's
like
like,
that.
or,
Maybe he
or
wants to
even
tag
with
team with Gary on that.
or
something like that.
or even with a reduction of medications, so I'm on this, but I'm a diabetic, or I have a heart, or I have cholesterol, or whatever. Are there other things that we can do to start to wean the person off a little bit? So all good topics. We're going to bring those up. We will do the, yes, as Pete said, we'll do the sequel to Polypharmacy. So it'll be Polypharmacy Part 2 next month in November. Dr. Lovelace, I want to thank you for coming in this morning and at least introducing the topic. But we have a lot to cover, so we will do that next month. It is 7:03. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses.
For the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:06. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in studio right now with producer Pete Coles, the chairman of the board. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
I feel like Akinyele was like a whirlwind today. I mean,
yeah, he was passionate about that.
Whoa, he was really. All right, so before my next guest comes on in a few minutes, we do have lots of announcements of some things going on. So first of all, Westfield Senior Theater, which is brand new to the Westfield Senior Center, will be performing this weekend at the Senior Center. The title of the show is The Prohibition of Harriet Jones. It's an original play written and directed by Westfield native Steve Henderson. And the show dates are Friday, October 23rd at 6 p.m. and Sunday, October 25th at 2 p.m. That's a matinee. You can get your free tickets at the greeter's desk. It's a limit of 4 tickets per person. Funding for the performance has been provided in part with a grant from the Westfield Cultural Council, which is supported by the Massachusetts Cultural Council. So we certainly thank the Cultural Council for that. And additional funding was from the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center. So I thank the Friends group for that as well. I believe there are 15 in the cast. This is the first time that we have done senior theater at the Westfield Senior Center, but Steve Henderson has been performing and doing senior theater at other senior centers in the area. I think Agawam and East Longmeadow, he's been doing it there for quite a while. So we're very fortunate to have it here. This should be a lot of fun. The folks are excited about the performance. Again, the tickets are free, but we are asking you to get tickets. Just pick your tickets up just so that we know how many will be attending and we can set up for the right number of folks. So again, it's this Friday at 6 p.m., Sunday at 2 p.m., The Prohibition of Harriet Jones. Also, I've had a number of seniors asking me about the ballot questions that will be on the ballot this election day. And the one that seems to be the most confusing, because we're seeing the most number of commercials on television, is ballot question number 1. And it really has to do with nursing patient ratios, since we were just talking about hospitalization. So the question is, how many patients is it safe for one nurse to take care of, is really kind of the bottom line. So what we're doing at the Senior Center is for the next 2 Tuesdays, so Tuesday the 23rd and Tuesday the 30th, we will have representatives from each side sort of presenting their case during lunch. Tuesday, October 23rd, we have Michelle Urban, Chief Nursing and Administrative Officer from Bay State Noble Hospital. She'll be joining us to give the hospital perspective on that. And the following Tuesday during lunch, we'll have Diane Jensen-Olszewski giving the sort of the opposite viewpoint on ballot question number 1. So I don't know whether we're going to make it more confusing for you or less confusing for you, but hopefully less confusing and give you some accurate information. So that'll be happening the next couple of Tuesdays at the Senior Center during lunch. It'll just be a short presentation between the entree and dessert, but then in both cases, they will be staying if people have questions or they want to meet one-on-one. Yeah, there are going to be. It is very confusing. It's confusing to all of us. I think it's confusing to the nurses, to be honest with you. I just saw an independent poll that said the nurses are pretty much divided in half.
Some of them advocate for it and some of them don't.
Yeah, exactly, depending on how they think it'll affect them. So,
right.
All right, also next Tuesday at the Senior Center, we have a Whip City Fiber workshop. So that is being done by Westfield Gas and Electric Company. So if you're interested in Whip City Fiber and you just have questions about it, they do this. Now they're doing it at the Senior Center about every 3 months or so. We're trying to do it quarterly, where they'll do a workshop, set some things up for you, answer all of your questions, do some demonstrations so that you have a better understanding of Whip City Fiber in Westfield and what's offered there. We talked a little bit about the Halloween party that's coming up at the Senior Center. Our Crazy Costumes Halloween Luncheon. Tickets are $5. They went on sale yesterday. The actual party is on Halloween, which is October 31st. It's a Wednesday this year, 2 weeks from today. Entertainment by Center Stage begins at 11 a.m. And for those of you who are curious about the luncheon menu, barbecued pulled pork, baked beans, macaroni and cheese, cornbread with sweet butter glaze, and this dessert sounds amazing, pumpkin ice cream and graham cracker parfait. And Joanne Spear, my kitchen manager, assures me that there is such a thing as pumpkin ice cream, which sounds really great to me. Also, I am so excited to announce this, and the invitations are going out this week to members of the Westfield Police Department as well as city councilors. They are and you, the public, you are cordially invited to attend our open house and ribbon cutting for the first of its kind Westfield's Senior Center Senior Safety Office. And that will be happening Friday, November 2nd, which is 3 weeks from today at 3 weeks from Friday at 9 a.m. We'll have coffee and pastries from 9 to 10:30 a.m. This is the brainchild, actually, of my staff, who just felt that we were doing a lot of collaborations with the Westfield Police Department. And unfortunately, it's because we've had a lot of older adults who have had issues. They've had problems with fraud and scams and identity theft, things like that. Also, protective services. We've had some abuse, some neglect by family members, etc. So I feel like I have Mark Carbonneau, one of our community police officers, on speed dial. So anyway, we came up with the idea of housing one of our community police officers right at the senior center, and we've been busy over the last several months converting our gift shop into the new senior safety office, and that will all be done by November 2nd, and Mark will be moving in. One of the things that people have asked is, what his hours will be. And as Mark said, he will be just using the senior center as his home base. Policing is not like, other jobs where you're sitting at the desk from 9 to 5 kind of thing.
Hours,
right.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have office hours, but he will schedule appointments in for to meet with people. And obviously he'll be out on the street, but when he comes in to do his computer work and so forth, he will be doing it at the senior center. So we'll see him a lot, but it'll be coming and going. But we're really excited to bring Mark on board. And the ribbon cutting, we'll have the mayor there and some of the city councilors and obviously a contingency from the police department. And believe it or not, we are also getting the invitations out to our senior center tree lighting, which is going to be early this year. It is. I know it sounds crazy because usually we do it in December. We're actually doing it in mid-November because the theme of this year's tree is veterans. So we are honoring, we've done police, we've done fire. We're honoring veterans this year. It's Marion Krause and Barbara Wojcik, who are our tree creators and decorators. And so what we decided to do with the tree lighting was actually hold it closer to Veterans Day, which is in mid-November. So the tree lighting will be on Sunday, November 18th. So we'll be setting up the Christmas tree early, but it'll give folks, 6 weeks to really come in and enjoy it. And we have so many veterans within the city.
Are the other two staying up around the senior center?
The other two will also be put up, but they won't be up that early. Right. So that will give Marion and Barbara some time. Yes, the police, I believe the rotation. So I think fire will now be in the fireside lounge. Police, the tree for the police department will be upstairs in the lounge. So when you come in the senior center, if you look up, you'll see that tree. Yep. And then we'll rotate them through. So next year, police will be back on the stage, and we'll move veterans to the fireside lounge and fire upstairs. So we'll just kind of do that rotation. And I said to Marion and Barbara, that's it. Don't take a break. Take a break because I'm running out of places with outlets where I can put big. And of course, these trees are not small trees.
No,
that's part of the thing. They're large trees. But anyway, so you'll be hearing more about the tree lighting. Events around town. We have the Greater Westfield Community Band has their concert tonight, Haunting Evening of Music. It's at the Westfield Intermediate School, which is the old North Middle School, behind Southampton Road School. Free admission, parking, handicap accessible. So that concert starts at 7:30 tonight. Should be a lot of fun. So, get out there.
The next one you got is canceled.
The Beards and Brews is canceled?
Yes. Okay. Due to lack of interest.
Okay. Glad to know that. All right. So we'll just announce that's canceled.
Yeah, Beards and Brews is canceled.
Okay. Unfortunately, but you know what? Sometimes things fly and sometimes
they
don't.
There was something that happened 50 years ago and then there wasn't a lot of interest this time around.
Yeah. And you know what? That stuff happens.
Yep.
What's really funny, Pete, is, and I've said this all along, when we do programs at the senior center, sometimes the things that we think are really going to be popular kind of, fall flat. And then there are other things. For instance, last Wednesday, you might recall, I had Michelle Elix out from the Department of Transportation, and she was going to do a presentation on the real ID versus the standard ID and so forth. So I'm trying to ballpark in my head, how popular I think this is going to be. So Alex Hibbard, our new building maintenance craftsman, I had Alex set up 50 chairs.
Yep.
in rows in the front of the great room. And then we kept some of the tables from lunch. So we kept another 6 tables, which is another 36 chairs. So,
Yep.
that's a total of 86.
Right.
So I'm thinking, that's fine.
Plenty.
No, not plenty. People, it was standing room only. People came in waves. They literally came in droves. And this is Alex's second day. I'm like, set up more chairs. We used all the chairs from the great room. We had to go get chairs from the
the
creativity
rooms,
center and from the fitness room. We had well over 100 people attend, which was wonderful. And Michelle did a great job of explaining the Real ID versus the standard, why people would want one over the other, what the process. I learned so much. I mean, what the process is. If you're renewing a license, you can actually renew early. I did not know this, but she explained to us, if you say your license is due for renewal, next year, if you you can renew up to 12 months beforehand and get the
full 5?
And get the full 5. If it's not, like in my case, I think mine isn't renewed. I don't have to renew it for 3 years, but I want to get the Real ID.
Yep.
So if I do that, I can do it, and it's $25 charge. I can do it, but it'll only go until
5 years from the date.
It'll only go
Date of
till
renewal.
the end of my cycle this time around. So that it was a little confusing, but she did a great job of explaining it. Brought lots of information for us, which my staff has photocopied. So we have plenty of information to pass out to people. But again, it's one of those things where all of a sudden you just, you're setting up for 150. All right, folks, it is 7:18. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield Masses. We're going to listen to Alan Jackson singing Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning. This is about the 9/11. It is in honor of Alan Jackson's 60th birthday today.
Where were you when the world stopped turning on that September day? Were you in the yard with your wife and children, or working on some stage in L.A.? Did you stand there in shock at the sight of that black smoke rising against that blue sky? Did you shout out in anger and fear for your neighbor? Or did you just sit down and cry? Did you weep for the children who lost their dear loved ones, and pray for the ones who don't know? Did you rejoice for the people who walked from the rubble, and sob for the ones left below? Did you burst out with pride for the red, white, and blue, and the heroes who died just doing what they do? Did you look up to heaven for some kind of answer, and look at yourself and what really matters? I'm just a singer of simple songs. I'm not a real political man. I watch CNN, but I'm not sure I can tell you the difference in Iraq and Iran. But I know Jesus and I talk to God, and I remember this from when I was young. Faith, hope, and love are some good things He gave us, and the greatest is love. Where were you when the world stopped turning on that September day? Teaching a class full of innocent children, or driving down some cold interstate? Did you feel guilty cause you're a survivor? In a crowded room, did you feel alone? Did you call up your mother and tell her you loved her? Did you dust off that Bible at home? Did you open your eyes and hope it never happened? Close your eyes and not go to sleep? Did you notice the sunset the first time in ages, and speak to some stranger on the street? Did you lay down at night and think of tomorrow, go out and buy you a gun? Did you turn off that violent old movie you're watching turn on I Love Lucy reruns? Did you go to a church and hold hands with some strangers, stand in line and give your own blood? Did you just stay home and cling tight to your family? Thank God you had somebody to love. I'm just a singer of simple songs. I'm not a real political man. I watch CNN, but I'm not sure I can tell you the difference in Iraq and Iran. But I know Jesus and I talk to God, and I remember this from when I was young. Faith, hope, and love are some good things He gave us, and the greatest is love. I'm just a singer of simple songs. I'm not a real political man. I watch CNN, but I'm not sure I can tell you the difference in Iraq and Iran. But I know Jesus and I talk to God, and I remember this from when I was young. Faith, hope, and love are some good things He gave us, and the greatest is love. And the greatest is love. And the greatest is love. Where were you when the world stopped turning on that September day?
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Discussions of local politics, events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri. Ken's Den, Tuesday, 8 to 10.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:24. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. And before I introduce my guest, I have to make a correction because we have an alert listener who just sent me a text message. Thank you, Dr. Gary Gorman. You are absolutely right. I did announce the wrong dates on the senior theater at the Westfield Senior Center. The days are this Friday. The date, and you know what? I made up this poster wrong at the senior center. The seniors corrected me. I corrected the flyer, and I think I had an old one in with my radio stuff. So the date is Friday, October 19th, which is this Friday at 6 p.m. for the Prohibition of Harriet Jones, the show, and then Sunday, October 21st at 2 p.m. So that's this coming Sunday. So thank you, Gary, for pointing that out. I had made that mistake the other day at the Senior Center, and Alice DeWicki found the mistake, and I corrected it, and I made up all new flyers, and I think I automatically put one of my flyers into my radio folder. I forgot to change the flyer, so thank you for that, Gare. And speaking of Gary Gorman, we have one of his favorite people in the world sitting right next to me this morning, Kathy Tobin, and Gary sends his love when he heard you were going to be my guest this morning. Oh, tell Kathy I sent my love. So Kathy Tobin from Bay State Health Foundation, Director of Annual Giving and Events. That's a big title that I always have to cheat and look at the exact title.
Fun and money. That's how you
Fun and money. I like that. I'm going with that one, Kath. Okay, so Kathy Tobin is my guest. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. And it's always so nice to be with all my friends,
I
Gary
know.
included.
Thank you. Yeah, Gary's listening now. So, of course, we always bring Kathy on in the fall because get to talk about the Noble Ball. What's more fun than talking about dressing up and, and this year, it's going to be so much fun.
A great party.
Yes, it's going to be magical this year.
It is indeed. That's our theme.
It is. So let's talk about it, Kathy. So what is this? How many years have they been doing the Noble Ball?
Amazingly, this is the 54th year.
I think that is amazing, and anybody who's done fundraising would think that's amazing, because most of those kinds of events, when you do an annual, even if you do like an annual run or an annual walk or an annual party or concert, usually they kind of run their course. You know what I mean? There's sort of a highlight, and you do it for 5 years or 10 years. 54 years is kind of outstanding and unbelievable at the same time. So what do you have?
I have a theory.
Do you have I was going to say, what's the theory for? How has this gone on for so long?
First of all, your perception is absolutely right, because nationally the standard is that most events run their course within 5 years.
Okay, 5. That makes sense to me.
They get tired, people burn out, they move on to the next thing.
Right.
So to have an event that is 54 years in tradition is really something special. And having been with the Westfield community and the Bay State Noble Ball now for 3 of those years, I would tell you that I have never seen an event that has such community support as the Bay State Noble Ball. This is how this community comes together and supports their community hospital.
Yeah.
And I think it really demonstrates how important the hospital is viewed as the center of health and wellness, the center of employment, and really just the heart of the hospital, where it's almost the gathering center, the heart of the community, if you will.
Yeah.
And, it touches so many lives just by the nature of it, that I think that really, it's a joyous occasion. People look forward to coming together every fall. And this is the way they demonstrate their support. And, it really is wonderful to be part of this tradition, because it is so rich in history. And while it has changed, and every year we try to do our best to make sure that it continues with something exciting and fun, I really give the community credit.
Well, it's really interesting, because I want to say now, probably a year and a half or 2 years ago, there were some issues going on at the hospital, and there was some debate among members of the community of how things should change or whatever. So, for my own knowledge, we did a survey at the senior center. Now, it was not a scientific survey, but I have to say it was only 2 questions, and the questions were: have you utilized the services of Bay State Noble Hospital within the last 2 years? I think was one of them. And that could have been either a trip to the ER, it could have been to have your Coumadin leveled, it could have been an inpatient hospitalization. I can't remember what the other question was, to be honest with you, but we just kept it to, it was either check yes or no. And we surveyed everybody who came into the senior center in a 1-week period. And we got everybody, because I had my staff going to, but they were only allowed to take the survey once. And so it was an unscientific, but it gave us an idea, because we have several hundred people coming through every day, and it was something like 80% of the seniors. Now, obviously, they're using utilizing the hospital for services, but I think it speaks to what you're saying. I mean, it's a very important piece of the Westfield community. So,
and I think when we talk about the health system, we say that we care for you from cradle to end of life.
Yes.
And if you think about the times, in any of our families, from the birth of a child to those bumps and bruises and broken bones that my boys at least went through, to, really chronic and critical conditions. In my own family, many of you know, I lost my husband after a year-long battle with cancer. And, that's when in those crises you realize how crucial it is to have excellent care close to home, and to have the support system, from every provider along the way that rallies around your family. It's really important. And, what I love about the health system is that we have our community hospitals, which are rich in tradition, and then we have the best specialists in the region available also within our system.
Absolutely.
So we can provide whatever that need is. And I'm glad we're there for those seniors because,
absolutely.
They matter
That's
a lot
a big
to
deal.
all of us.
Yeah, that's a really big deal. You know what? I think we're Pete, we're going to go ahead and take our 7:30 break. It's 7:31, and then I want to get into with Kathy some of the specifics of this year's ball. You mentioned the theme, but we want to get into that and just sort of how the listeners can be involved. And so we'll give you the dates and all of those good things. So it's 7:31. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. And I will give you a hint about the theme. It has to do with the next song. It's by the Lovin' Spoonful. Do you believe in magic?
Do you believe in magic in a young girl's heart? How the music can free her whenever it starts, and it's magic. If the music is groovy and makes you feel happy like an old-time movie, I'll tell you about the magic and it'll free your soul. But it's like trying to tell a stranger about a rock and roll. You believe in magic? Don't bother to choose if it's jug and music or rhythm and blues. Just go and listen, and it'll start with a smile that won't wipe off your face, no matter how hard you try. Your feet start tapping and you can't seem to find how you got there. So just blow your mind. If you believe in magic, come along with me. We'll dance until morning till there's just you and me. And maybe, if the music is right, I'll meet you tomorrow so late at night. And we'll go dancing, baby, then you'll see how the magic's in the music and the music's in me. Yeah. Do you believe in magic? Yeah. Believe in the magic of a young girl's soul. Believe in the magic of a rock and roll. Believe in the magic that can set you free. Oh, I'm talking about the magic. Like I do believe in magic. Like I do believe. Like I do believe.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Discussions of local politics, events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri. That's what you'll find on Ken's Den, Tuesdays from 8 till 10.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:34. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. It is Wednesday, October 17th. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm joined in studio this morning by producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
And Kathy Tobin, Director of Annual Giving and Events with the Bay State Health Foundation. Welcome again, Kathy.
Thank you.
So we're talking about this year's Noble Ball, what is the date of this year's Noble Ball, by the way?
It's Saturday, November 3rd, so just 2 weeks away.
Yeah,
we're getting close.
It's coming around the corner here, folks. All right, so I introduced the theme because I had to play I have some magic, so I have another magic song that we're playing later. So the theme is magic, right?
It is.
So tell us about that.
So every year we do try to change things up to keep 54-year tradition going, but fresh and fun, and we like to surprise our guests.
Yep.
And every year at the ball, I try to talk to a lot of our guests and sort of get a feel for what kinds of things they like. And, the last feedback that I received was we like, the elegant side, but they like the fun of it.
The fun side, too, of course. Yeah,
it's
it is
kind
a
of
fun
our
event.
challenge. And
Yeah.
I am very fortunate to work with an incredibly creative team of people, both at the foundation and, in the local community. So I had this idea of magic.
Okay.
And what I kept saying was, this is not your 12-year-old's birthday party.
Right.
This is a Houdini-inspired Victorian evening. So if you think about that and you think of everything from sort of steampunk to, the elegant Victorian parlor, there's a lot you can do with that.
Oh, yes.
And so, as always, when people, the moment they enter the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield, which is where it is held because it can accommodate the size crowd that we're fortunate enough to have for the Bay State Noble Ball, you will be transformed into a Victorian parlor, I promise you.
Okay.
And then we have some wonderful entertainers who I have been able to connect with through some old friends. We hooked up with a local chapter of a national magic society.
Yes, and they do exist out there.
They do.
Yeah.
And a dear friend's dad was a member of that for many years. And so one of his old buddies was kind enough to introduce me and bring me to one of their meetings. And so many of them are going to be entertaining you with their magic.
Yes.
And then through the evening, again, we have our wonderful band, the Floyd Patterson Band, which, kept people literally dancing till midnight last year, joining him on the stage even.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be a wonderful evening. And those are just a few of the little surprises that we have throughout the night.
Nice. I have to tell you, many, many years ago, like 30 or 35, I went to visit a friend who was living in LA at the time, and her husband was very involved in films and so forth. He was kind of the accountant. He would actually, go. But anyway, they had a lot of connections. And so she said to me that we were going to this house of magic. And, as you said, I'm thinking, okay, so it's like, but this is where the big magicians did their thing. And I have to tell you, and it was, this was kind of like by invitation only. And she implied that, you can't, nobody can just show up at this. Like you have to know somebody. And it wasn't until I got in there, Kathy, and I was like a little kid. I mean, and Gary, so was Gary. Gary was worse than I was. How did you make that happen? How did you do that? It was unbelievable. So I know exactly what you're talking about when you say, being transformed back, because all I could think of was that was so impressive. I mean, we still talk about that today. Do you remember and that had to be, oh my God, it had to be 30 or 35 years ago, but where sort of the professional magicians, tried their new stuff. It was amazing. So I'm looking forward to this. Now, every year you usually have chairs, right? You have the ball. What do they call them? The chair.
The honorary chairs.
The honorary chair. So who is that? I know last year was Mike and Jennifer McCabe.
Yes, and Jim and Kathy Irwin.
Yes. And so who is it this year?
It is our mayor, Brian Sullivan, mayor of Westfield,
that's right.
and Sonia Brockney.
I forgot about Brian. That's right.
And
oh my God.
They attended last year and were introduced, and we try to do that. We try to introduce the next gen, if you will.
Yes,
but,
right. Exactly.
We have a great committee, and our past chairs stay involved and have helped. And when you look at over 54 years, it's impressive. In some cases, we have 3 generations of families who have served in this role. But it is it's very important. That's how we make all of this happen.
Yes.
And they help us, and really are involved. In making sure that it is an event that the Westfield community will enjoy.
Nice.
We also have our Spirit Award winner each year, which is very special.
Yeah, and how do they choose that? So what do they look for when they choose the Spirit Award winner, Kathy?
So the Spirit Award winner is nominated by Ron Bryant, the president of Bay State Noble Hospital, and we really look for someone who represents not only what we consider the noble spirit, and that encompasses not only service in the hospital to the hospital community, but also to the broader community of Westfield, because we think that's important.
Yep.
That integration,
Absolutely.
that real sense of the bigger community of Westfield. And in the first few years, it was kept kind of a secret until the night of.
You didn't know until you got there.
It was the big reveal. And
Yes.
ironically, the first year that we're doing a magic theme,
Yes,
we have blown the reveal
Yeah.
because we felt it was important. Again, feedback we got from people last year when it was Stan Stremko, who people, is just beloved,
Yes.
said, oh, if I had known, I would have changed my plans. and
Exactly.
attended."
I think that's part of it.
So this year we decided we were going to announce in advance who our Spirit Award winner was, and that will not negate but add to the celebration
I
on
agree.
November
Yeah.
3rd.
Yeah.
So Mary C. O'Neill, who many of you know,
Okay.
I don't think there's anyone we've talked to who doesn't know Mary, has been selected and has been gracious enough to accept the nomination and will be our Noble Spirit Award recipient. And
Nice.
we always have a little surprise video that sort of encompasses some well wishes.
Yeah, those videos are fabulous.
Some of the history
They're so
and
nice.
Mary's role. wonderful. But, she quickly points out, some people who worked with her at the hospital think of her as a member of the hospital team, but she volunteered longer than she wasn't actually an employee of the hospital. So it's her volunteer service, also with Westfield Bank and, at St. Mary's Church and just in so many places in the community.
Yeah.
She has been the go-to person at Noble Hospital for several presidents.
Yes.
And Ron has a lovely story that he will share that evening about how he met Mary. So we couldn't be more thrilled that she has agreed to do this. And
Nice.
it will be wonderful to honor her in front of, we hope, 500 of dear friends.
Is that what I was going to ask you about? How many people typically are at the ball? And I know I've heard this from from Westfield residents in the past. It's like, well, why can't we have it here in Westfield? And the reason is we just don't. I don't know where you'd have it. You'd have to have it outside someplace. There's just not a place
Believe
big
me,
enough.
We've tried really hard.
Yeah.
I did look at it with fresh eyes when
Yes.
I joined the team,
Yes.
and we thought about lots of things. But unfortunately, the other thing Westfield enjoys is they like the consistency of having it the first weekend
Yes.
in November, because then
Yes.
people can plan ahead and put
Yep.
it on their calendar. And at that time of year with the weather,
Yeah.
outside venues
Yeah.
really are
They
eliminated.
don't. Yeah, they don't work.
And there's a long list of what we need. We need lots
Yes.
of room. They love a dinner. They love, elegant food, but also a great dance floor, because this is a dancing crowd, folks.
Yes.
They love to have fun and
Yes.
have, great music. And so to encompass all of that, we're really very limited.
And also, you've got
about
the
the
whole
space.
the auction. You have all the auction. So it does.
do.
It takes. Even at the Mass Mutual Center, you're using multiple floors.
Exactly.
I don't know if people, for those of you who haven't been, it's
Yes.
like this extravaganza,
And it
is
takes
really
2
what it
full
is.
days at least
Yes.
just to do the setup after
Yeah.
we've, sort of collected everything. We have a beautiful silent auction, which will be available as of next weekend.
So let's talk about the silent auction.
So the silent
Kathy.
auction, we have everything from, I'll just give you, last year we had one of those heaters for your patio to
Yeah, it was
elegant
just
jewelry,
unbelievable.
beautiful
Yeah, it was
diamond jewelry
it was
from the
everything.
Hanush family. So, that is the range. We have sports memorabilia. We have, getaway weekends.
Oh, yeah.
We
And
have
by the
spa
way, again, for
packages.
people who have not been there, it's set up like Macy's department store. So when they set up the silent auction item, so if you're interested in, for instance, sports memorabilia, there's a whole sports section. There's a whole jewelry section. There's a whole like travel and going away and overnights.
We try to make it easy and convenient.
which really helps a lot, because let's face it, for some people, if you kind of feel like, well, I don't really want more stuff, but I'm more interested in work. Are there any getaways? Do I have an overnight, some bed and breakfast, or whatever? So I'll go to the trip section, or experiences, exactly,
for
or
children and adults. Now as a new
Yes.
grandma,
Yes.
I look for things
Right.
like
Right.
merry-go-round passes and things like
Yes.
that. So we try to have a real variety, even price point variety for people.
Yes, that's
And
the other thing.
It's one of
Yeah.
the things I would say to people who can't attend. If you can't come join us, which we hope all of you will, but we know some people can't come. You can go online. This is
You
an
can still
online
bid,
silent
right?
auction,
Yeah.
and you can bid online through Qtago.net, and you can go on and you can bid in advance of the ball. You can sign up so that it will alert you when someone outbids you, because I'm that person who always gets outbid at the last second.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy.
Yes.
So,
So even if you can't be there, you have to
fun.
be like watching. So
Yes.
to make
So
sure that your item.
You can participate, and remember that 100% of the proceeds from our auction go to support your community hospital.
Absolutely.
So that's really helpful to us. And then we have a few great live auction items that night at the event too. which
Now, are you
always
allowed to say
exciting.
what the live auction items are?
I can mention
Okay.
a few.
Okay, tell us.
This year we have something brand new, thanks
Okay.
to our new partner in Springfield, Mercedes-Benz. They're offering an exclusive experience at the U.S. Tennis Open.
Oh,
Now, I have already
wow.
heard from my tennis fan friends that they can't wait to bid on this, because
Fun.
Mercedes-Benz is known for having this private box at the U.S. Open every
Get out.
August. And it is, just a fabulous
Wow.
experience with food and beverage and, great fun and fabulous seats. So
Wow.
that is an experience, to quote Pete.
Yes, it
that,
is. Yeah,
is really
exactly.
special. So that's going to be on our live auction. Westfield's own Columbia Bicycle, of course,
Yes.
every year creates a one-of-a-kind Columbia Bicycle collector's item,
Yep.
along with some local, vintage heritage there. So we once again will have that bicycle. We have some media advertising. We have some wouldn't you love to have your own custom-made pair of jeans?
Yes.
Imagine that.
I would.
Every woman in the world knows you can never find the perfect pair of jeans.
I know. And for those of you who think just because you're small you can find them, no.
I'm looking at Tina at that point.
I hate buying clothes. They just don't.
Well, we have a woman who will change your mind about that.
I would love to
woman
win that.
Who will custom make you the perfect pair of jeans. So that alone is worth the price of a ticket.
It is. It is. It's absolutely worth the price of a ticket. All right. It is 7:46. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses. My guest this morning is Kathy Tobin. We're talking about the Noble Ball. And when we come back, Kathy, I want to talk a little bit about where does the funding go to? I know in past years, there have kind of been specific projects. We need to talk about that because one of those projects actually came to fruition this year. So we need to kind of celebrate that as we're talking about the Noble Ball. We will be back. This is another one. This is my second magic song for you, Kathy.
Ooh.
For the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes and Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:51. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. It is Wednesday, October 17th. For those of you that are wondering what the weather's like today, it's about 38 degrees right now, going up to the mid-50s. It's chilly. It's going to be kind of a cloudy, it's fall. It's going to be a cloudy day, maybe some showers this afternoon, maybe some wind gusts this afternoon. So, little chilly. Not sure. Pete's going to have to look up what the weekend is going to bring for us. My guest this morning is Kathy Tobin, Director of Annual Giving and Events with the Bay State Health Foundation. And we're talking about specifically about this year's Noble Ball, and the theme, of course, is magic. So I had all these great magic songs that I could play for you.
I love it.
Kathy, in the past, I know when people have supported the Bay State Noble Ball, part of it has been because it's kind of for a specific cause. And for a few years, the cause was changing the entrance to Bay State Noble Hospital. And I have to admit that I was one of those people that thought, we're never going to raise enough money to do this. It's always going to be this, antiquated entrance. But in fact, we had the ribbon cutting ceremony.
Don't we have a fabulous new entrance?
It is unbelievable. Every time I go in there, I was just over in the hospital for a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I just thought, I still am amazed. I walk in the front door just going, this is so conducive to what a hospital entrance should look like. It's level, it's open, it's just beautiful. It's inviting and welcoming.
Exactly.
I just love it. And the employees that are there, and the volunteers, I just said, you must love this. And they said, we do. It's shiny and new, and it's really terrific. So
I think, I want to thank the community, and I think they should really be proud because
they should.
The Bay State Noble Ball over several years raised a good chunk of that money.
Yes.
Of course, Bay State did have to add to it because prices are what they are today in construction. Yeah. However, it was time. It is a statement about where Bay State Noble Hospital is going.
Yeah.
And I think it is a beautiful start to lots of improvements. Ron would like to tell you how he's replaced boilers and done all these things that,
I know it's the. As
I don't want to go in the basement.
And, Ron's been on the radio show. We've talked about that in the past. It's like those are the not so glamorous things that you don't really see.
The things that need to get done,
but kind of necessary.
Exactly. So this was really one of the first bright, shiny things that we could really display to the public about the changes and the evolution, if you will, of our community hospital. But I was there during the building process. Of course, I got to put my hard hat on and go in and take a peek.
Oh yes.
And I was walking, and about a month before, I looked at the crew and I said, I have a date scheduled for this ribbon cutting. I can't imagine you're going to be ready. They said, we will be ready.
I know.
And that Noble team, amazing.
Yeah.
They were ready.
Yes,
and
they were ready.
More importantly, the day that we cut the ribbon and officially opened it, there was just an enthusiasm and an excitement. It was palpable.
It was a great day.
And almost near the end of the reception that we had, I looked over and there was an elderly couple already sitting down in the waiting area. And I went over and I spoke with them and got them a cup of coffee and, a pastry. And they were telling me about, the gentleman was there for a procedure and how they were anxious. And they had just settled in and they just felt like, they were part of this. And it was so beautiful. And I thought, if every person who comes through these doors feels that way, we've accomplished our goal. And the community made this happen.
Yeah.
Employees said to me, many of us enter to work each day this way, and it raises our spirits and helps us feel whole and good about what we're doing.
Yep.
And there's a real problem with caregivers in this day and age burning out, and we worry about that. And we have all kinds of initiatives trying to support them and help maintain a wonderful team. Mm-hmm. And I think even to our employees, this was a very important day and an important sign. And last year's ball put in a new CT scan in the ED.
Yes.
So simultaneously this year, we saw the ball pay off, if you will, in two very important ways for our community. This coming year, we will be supporting what is going to be the next bright, shiny change at the hospital, the Pulmonary Rehabilitation Unit, which is a very crucial outpatient center, primarily for us. unfortunately, we know that in today's world, with the prevalence of asthma and things like COPD and lung disease, and all the coronary connections to pulmonary issues, this is one of the highest used parts of our community hospital. And right now, again, it's small, it's a little antiquated, and we are going to move that unit, expand that unit, and enhance that program in several ways. And so that is what the money this year is going to go to. It will have a lot of people from the community coming in, being able to use it and get great services. So I think in the same way that people were so proud to see that new entrance, that unit next year, that program will be something that people can say, we did that by supporting the Bay State Noble Ball.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm really excited about this because I have a little history with that pulmonary unit, because back in the day when I was teaching at Springfield College, and one of my jobs was to supervise interns. We had a lot of interns and practicum students. And I remember I was trying to get a student into cardiac rehab, and I had a number of students that used to intern at Bay State Medical Center in the cardiac rehab unit there. So we were kind of maxed out there, but I had a couple more students and they really wanted to do this. So I said, all right, well, let's start looking at some of the smaller community hospitals and see if there's anything available. So this was way before I was ever working in Westfield, and I wasn't really that familiar with Noble Hospital at the time. So I called, and they already had an intern in their cardiac unit, but they said, well, we have a pulmonary care unit. And I was sort of like, really? What? Like, I've never heard of it. What what is that? What do you do? And so forth. So anyway, the person that was running it at the time was just really a great person. So I came out here and I met with him. He had never had an intern before, and I had never had an intern there before. But it struck up this really wonderful relationship, and I learned a lot about what they did in pulmonary rehab. He was a terrific supervisor. My student I ended up, I think, with 2 students over there that semester, and just said, because it was a smaller community hospital, they really got to see a lot, they got to try a lot, they got to do a lot. And I just thought, well, this is really fantastic. So when I came to work in Westfield, I was familiar. When I saw this on the list of this is what this year's Noble Ball, part of what the funds are going to go for, I was just really excited about that, because I think this is a unit that's been around before it was popular for other, especially smaller community hospitals, to have such a unit. So there is a little bit of a history there.
Yes,
so
and as I said, the need, we can tell that it's unfortunately increasing. And so what we always try to do is answer the need of the community.
Yes.
And so once again, we are doing that.
That is that is really amazing. So let's talk a little bit, Kathy, about, is it too late for people to get tickets to attend the ball, or how do they, I know the deadline is coming up, so how would people get their tickets if they want to do that?
That's really because we have to give, food orders and that sort of
absolutely,
thing.
For 500 people,
my vendors go crazy, but, I'm always trying to squeeze everybody in, but we would love people to contact us. You can buy tickets right online if you choose. You go to baystatehealth.org.
Okay.
/Noble Ball.
Okay.
It's pretty easy. baystatehealth.org/Noble Ball. Or you can call us at 794-6414, and we can help you with that transaction. But there is space available.
Great.
And we would love to have our numbers increase and have as many people as we can there to support this work. And again, if you wanted to have some role, if you want to sponsor, if you want to contribute a prize to that fabulous auction.
Oh, yes.
All of those are ways people can help. We do have a couple of volunteer spots left, but just contact us, because we always find a way. I never say no. We can always use help. It takes the village to put on an event of this size, and we really love to meet and be involved with members of the community who want to get engaged.
Absolutely. We thank you so much for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you. It's my joy to do this work. It really is.
I know. It would be kind of fun. I think it'd be kind of fun. Like, that's like to have that as a job. So are there anything other than the Noble Ball, anything else that you want to talk about in the last few minutes that we have with Bay State Health Foundation? Because you're actually raising money for the whole Bay State Health, the whole spectrum. So what else is going on? Anything going on this weekend, Kathy?
Yeah, just one little thing.
What do we have?
Something called the Rays of Hope.
There we go. We should mention that October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
It is.
And it is the month that you do the Rays of Hope.
And this is is particularly special to me because 25 years ago, I was at the first walk.
Okay.
Not working for Bay State at the time, but I was, as some of you might remember, I was in broadcasting.
Remember.
I was a health reporter at that time.
Remember.
And Lucy Giugio, the founder of the Rays of Hope Walk, saw me across the lobby of Bay State Medical Center, pointed her finger at me and said, I had a dream about you and you're going to help me.
There you go.
And here
so
we
it
are
began.
25 years later. Lucy has built this movement and we are calling it the movement.
Yes.
Because over those years, we have grown from 500 walkers to over 20,000 people participating.
Gosh.
It is just amazing. And unless you've come in person, it's hard to capture what that feels like.
Yes.
But it never stops bringing me to tears. It's very emotional and in a happy way because many of them are survivors.
Yes.
And we also, of course, recognize all those we have lost.
Yes.
But I would just tell you, through my involvement, many people started just helping because it was the right thing to do and they knew somebody with breast cancer.
Yes.
Over the years, I have seen more and more of them affected because it is so prevalent.
Yes.
And at the same time, the advances and the things we've funded in care, you'll hear about that on Sunday, how far we've come in 25 years.
Yes.
Of course, we haven't found the cure yet. And as Dr. Grace McCurry-Judson, who runs our breast health center, would like to say, she can't retire yet because we haven't found the cure. So the dollars raised are crucially important. But I want everybody to know that over these 25 years, together this community has raised over $14.2 million
That's amazing.
for local cancer research and programs. And we fund places like Cancer House of Hope, Cancer Connection, programs that really touch people's lives.
Absolutely.
And we do local research. Every penny stays here in our community. And that's what's really special about this. And when we talk about things cycling off, some of our national walks have ceased to exist this year.
Okay.
So Rays of Hope will continue, we hope, with community support as long as there is need.
Yeah, that's amazing. I am flabbergasted at that number of 20,000. Although I will say that I know a lot of, I feel like there are fewer single walkers, a lot of teams, a lot of people getting teams together, you know, whether it's through schools, whether it's through family, somebody who's been affected. We've all been affected.
Exactly.
There is not a woman, I don't think there's a woman on the planet that hasn't been affected. It's either a relative, a friend, yourself, you know, someone.
And we have many teams that are all male.
Yes.
And they walk
Yes.
For the women in their lives, or in some cases, you know, men can get
they
breast
do
cancer.
get it. Sure,
and people, you
Yep.
know, don't always realize that. But cancer affects everyone in the family, in the social unit. You know, it just touches everyone. And so that's why I think there's this tremendous feeling. And when you talk about surprises, we have some wonderful new additions this year to really make this 25th anniversary special. I would just like to make a plea to anyone who's ever walked or ever been part of it or ever thought of being part of it. This is the year to come out and be with us again and just be present to recognize that what has happened and all those survivors from the day you're diagnosed, we consider you a survivor. So we honor and we remember.
Yeah,
and it will be a really special
Now,
weekend.
how can people, if somebody does want to walk, Kathy, how would they, I know it's kind of late in the game, but how would they?
There's no problem at all. You can just go to baystatehealth.org, same website.
Okay.
The foundation has a link on that website, and you can sign up online.
Okay.
And lots of people bring their fundraising the morning of. That's challenging for us with the volume we do, so we encourage online donation.
Yes.
But it can be done, and lots of people do it. And, you know, we have entertainment in the parking lot. We will have a very special guest who has been with us throughout, but, you know, we'll be back.
Where's that being held if somebody just wants
I was going to ask that.
Where's that being held?
Where is it being held, Kathy?
I'm sorry. We start from the Temple Bethel, right adjacent to Forest Park, and the walk extends through Forest Park. There is a run also that morning.
Okay.
So there's a run or a walk.
Okay.
The run starts a little earlier.
Okay.
So people like you, Tina,
Yeah,
who
nice.
are running enthusiasts can
There you
take
go.
part. We have vendors there. We have, as I said, wonderful local entertainment, and it's just a fun day to come together. And pink is the color of the day, I have to tell you.
Pink is the color of the day. And, you know, a lot of teams around a workplace as well. You know, I have a staff of 13 at the senior center, 2 breast cancer survivors. You know, it's just, as you said, Kathy, it's just so prevalent. It's just touched all of us in some way. So we would definitely ask folks to support that. as well as the Noble Ball. So if you are, again, back to the Noble Ball before we finish up this hour, if you are interested, you need to get those tickets ASAP.
That's right.
It's because the deadline is the end of this week, so you got a couple of days. So join the fun. Kathy Tobin, I want to thank you again for coming and sharing all this information and sharing the great success stories about how this funding has, how we've actually seen this over at Bay State Noble Hospital, because that is exciting. For those of you who are listening, if you have not seen the new entrance, you just go park your car and just walk inside, because I also have to say, having built a senior center, so I know what this is all about. It's not just the construction in the building. It's also the colors, and it's how it's decorated, and it's just very calming, very soothing. And I tell people when they come in the senior center, that was not by accident. Very careful planning, and I think Bay State Noble nailed it. They did such a great job. Thank you. All right, next week, Pete, next week we're going to do a best of, because I am presenting at the Mass Association of Councils on Aging at their annual conference. I'm doing my downsizing in place presentation for some of the directors, so always a good time. And then in 2 weeks, I honestly can't. Let me see. Let's see, who do we have in 2 weeks?
She's got to look at her book.
Let me look in my book. Oh, so 2 weeks, I have Julie Barnes, the new director of Veterans Affairs. And Julie is fantastic. We love her. So she's going to do the whole second hour with lots of information about what's out there for veterans, because one of her missions is to get that information out. And because she said, I think a lot of people are eligible for benefits and they don't even know it. So I will be back in 2 weeks, but we'll do a best of show next week. All right. Have a good one.
Support for the community programming of WS